Novo Nordisk shares fell by more than 16% in a single day and have lost 73% of their value since their historic peak in the summer of 2024. In less than 2 years, more than $500 billion has disappeared from the market cap of one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. The company, which until recently dominated the obesity drug market with Wegovy and Ozempic, is coming under increasing pressure from investors with no one in sight. What really went wrong? Will this company still be relevant in 2026? What really happened? A new generation of anti-obesity injection from Danish drug manufacturer Novo Nordisk resulted in less weight loss in a clinical trial than Eli Lilly's competing bestseller. People treated with a standard dose of Novo Nordisk's CagriSema in the clinical trial achieved a 20.2% weight loss after 84 weeks compared to 23.6% for Eli Lilly's tirzepatide. This totally shook the markets and stocks reacted sharply with big moves. Novo Nordisk share price responded with a decline of more than 16%, while Eli Lilly's shares rose by more than 5%. Keep in mind that this huge movement, worth tens of billions of dollars, was caused by a difference in drug performance of only 3% and 0.4. To make things even worse, management indicated an outlook that fell short of Wall Street's optimistic expectations. This was the final nail in the coffin for investor sentiment. The result was one of the largest one-day declines in the stock market in recent years. So, is the company lost for good? Let's look at the chart, which can tell us a lot. When we look at the share price development, we see a very typical stock cycle. First came the euphoria surrounding GLP-1 drugs. These are the drugs that have literally changed the lives of thousands of people in recent years, followed by an expansion in valuation, and now we are entering the phase of overvaluation of expectation. This is nothing new in the stock market. However, it is important to emphasize one fundamental point. Novo Nordisk fundamentals have not collapsed. What we are seeing right now is primarily a change in the sentiment and investors' willingness to pay for future growth. And that brings us to the main problem. The obesity drug market is one of the fastest growing segments of the entire healthcare sector. But at the same time, the competitive environment is intensifying very quickly. Eli Lilly is aggressively strengthening its position, and investors are increasingly wondering whether Novo Nordisk will be able to maintain its position. In addition, other factors are coming into play, such as a growing pressure on the prices of GLP-1 drugs and market saturation. Novo Nordisk has also indicated that the pace of growth may gradually normalize in the coming years, which is precisely the moment when investors in growth stocks begin to be significantly more cautious. However, looking at the hard data, the situation is less dramatic than the price movement suggests. Novo Nordisk remains as global leader in the diabetes and obesity segments. Demand for Wegovy and Ozempic remains very strong, and the company is generating robust cash flow. Demand for GLP-1 drugs has not waned, and the market as a whole continues to grow. The current sell-off is therefore largely about overvaluated expectation, not a collapse in demand for products. Why is this nothing new? The pharmaceutical segment, focused on obesity, is beginning to go through a phase similar to that previously experienced by the technology sectors. First came strong hype, then expansions of multiples, and now a period of greater selectivity is coming. Investors today are much more focused on the sustainability of growth, competitive dynamics, and the ability of companies to monetize demand in the long term. As soon as a company shows the first sign of a slowdown or stronger competition, the market reaction tends to be much sharper than in the early stages of the cycle. We can now see this with Novo shares. They are falling, but the numbers continues to grow. Every investor can form their own opinion very quickly. With just a few clicks, you can track the development of sales, margins, free cash flow, and fair value in detail on Bullius and compare them with the current market price. The figures for Novo Nordisk are more than interesting, and if you are interested in anything else, you can ask the stockbot, which can answer any question. It's often the combination of these data that best shows whether we are seeing only short-term panic or a real change in trend. Try it via link in the video description. So what is the future of the company? In the coming quarters, the market will primarily monitor three key areas. First, the pace of adoption of new drugs. Second, the ability to maintain market share against Eli Lilly. And third, the development of margins amid growing competition. If Novo Nordisk proves that it can continue to effectively monetize the growth of obesity drug market, sentiment may stabilize. However, if the pace of growth remains below high expectations, pressure on valuation may persist for longer. Novo Nordisk is now facing the first major test after years of almost uninterrupted euphoria. In the short term, volatility is increasing and market expectations are being reset, but the long-term strength of its products and real results remains unappreciated. And so, even though the company has erased all the gains it made after announcing the launch of obesity drugs and is no longer the largest European company it once was, it's much further ahead than it was 3 years ago. And it's precisely when everything looks worse that the greatest opportunities arise on the stock markets. Will Novo Nordisk will be one of them? This video is coming to an end, but you can now continue analyzing thousands of other companies on Bullios via the link in the description. And if you want more information about Novo Nordisk, take a look at the stock details, where you will find all the analysis, results data, charts and fair price. And note that Novo Nordisk fair price is currently much higher than its trading price.